This Cobra 2000 is in very good shape. There's no wear whatsoever. Uh, Frequency counter indicates that the radio clarifier has never been unlocked. As you can see, when I key up, turn the adjustment, frequency stays locked on transmit and only varies on receive. The receive and the transmit are not tracking exactly the way it should be, but that's a minor adjustment. But our biggest problem is the audio. I am going to inject a signal, which you could tell right here, yet I can't hear it. So one of the tests we're going to do is we're going to put it in the PA mode. Stick it in the PA jack, and I should hear something. And I don't. One, two, three, four, five, audio. The audio circuit, the audio chip is working in the PA mode, so therefore the PA audio chip should be fine. So where do we go from here? This radio has been modified for channels. There are two switches in the back. Located right over here. That will give you upper, mids, lowers. I don't recommend it on radios, especially one that's in good condition like this. It actually takes away from the value of the radio. But the radio is pretty clean. It looks almost brand spanking new. This particular one was made in Taiwan, so it's the early version. I would say that this radio has to be at least 30 years old. You would never know by looking at it. When working with a Cobra 2000, you should never plug it into the wall. Always use a DC power supply source, as I'm using here. There's a 3-prong plug, standard Cobra plug. The reason being is your power switch over here. Unlike most radios, it breaks the ground. It does not break the supply. If you have this plugged into the wall, there's going to be 110 volts over here. You will get zapped. So for your own safety, work on it using a DC regulated power supply. Now, since the radio works on PA, but it's not receiving. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It does receive, you just cannot hear it. When I inject the tone into it, as you can see, the meter goes up. That means it is receiving, you just can't hear it. I'm using an IFR 1200 spectrum analyzer. Since it works in the PA mode, which I've demonstrated earlier, 4, 3, 2, 1, audio. That tells me that the audio chip is working. Most likely the radio has a shorted electrolytic capacitor. 10 volt electrolytic capacitors in an 8 volt circuit usually will go bad, especially if the radio's been tuned and peaked out. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over, and in this circuit here, this is the audio circuit, we're going to measure out into the circuit any 10 volt electrolytics. I suspect which one it already is. I use the wet finger method. As you can hear, the audio chip is working. What you want to find on pin 9 of the audio chip is you want to see half the supply voltage. I'm reading 13.7, and on pin 9 I'm reading 6.8. So the audio chip obviously is working. Okay, what I found was this 10 volt 220 microfarad electrolytic capacitor. Decoupling capacitor takes the RF out of the DC supply voltage. This one's showing me 50 ohms. You should see about 500,000 ohms on these normally. I replaced it. I'm going to now turn it on, inject the tone, and as you can see, the radio is now receiving. When you unplug the microphone, you won't hear the audio, but as you can see, it's still receiving. In this particular case, with the mic in, couldn't hear a thing. The PA worked because that cap and that transistor was not in the PA audio circuit. Therefore, you could hear audio. The audio chip actually worked. Now, I'm down below 1 microvolt on receive, and it's still, you could still hear the 1000 kilohertz tone. Alright, so as you can see, the radio is now working. It would actually have taken me less than 10 minutes to fix. I've seen this happen thousands of times. If you have any 10 volt electrolytic capacitors, replace them. It's only a matter of time before they go bad. Now, I'm going to try to zoom in here. On the frequency counter. As you can see on receive, it says 27.2050. When I transmit, it goes to 49. On sideband, does the same thing. So, what this needs to do is have this adjusted. A minor adjustment in here, since the clarifier is locked. All we're concerned about is getting the transmit back where it should be. So I will key up the radio, and I'm going to adjust VR5. until it says 27.205. When I release it, it stays at 27.205. And that's it. That's all there is to this radio. This radio is in beautiful condition. I mean, for a radio made in Taiwan, 30 years, it's in very good condition. Whoever used it did not use sideband. And the reason I know that is because there's no wear along the clarifier. Right over here. Usually somebody who uses a lot of sideband, the silk screening around the clarifier will wear down from them constantly adjusting it. This radio doesn't have that issue. As you can see with the channels, one gives you above channel 27.8450, the frequency. It's not really a channel. The combination of the two on channel 20 brings you down to 27.52, and the other one by itself 26.8850. Radio is capable of going from 26.815, can go all the way up to 28.045, which is a 10-meter band. I don't advocate talking out of band, but this radio did come with that modification, and I'm not about to take it out. I always recommend leaving the clarifier locked. As long as you could adjust VR5 inside, get the transmit perfect, you could always vary the receive. So if somebody's not right on frequency, you can clarify them in. You know when you transmit, you'll be transmitting out. The only other test left to do is I want to make sure that the radio works in the AM mode. As I was saying before, you have to be very careful with this radio when it's plugged in on AC. You will get zapped if you touch the other side of this button. There's 110 volts floating. It opens the ground. The reason it does that is so that the clock will work. This radio is designed so that you could set the clock, and in the morning the radio or the alarm or both can come on at the same time. So at this point, I'm going to unplug the DC portion. Plug in the AC, and it does work. It lights up. Put it in the clock mode. I'm going to set the time. And I'm going to set the alarm. I'm going to shut the radio off. I'm going to put the alarm on and the radio button in. Approximately 1 minute, the radio should come on all by itself, in which case the radio is ready to go. I'll pack it up and send it back to the customer. Now you might see some strobing on the video. That's because, there it goes. You'll see strobing on the video. These lights appear to be strobing. They're actually being lit up one segment at a time. And they do that to save energy. You can't see it. The camera's eye can see it, but you cannot see it. The lights in your house flash 60 times per second. They do it so fast it looks instantaneous. Because of the way the camera system works, it will actually pick up the strobing of each LED lighting individually. That has to do with the scanning rate of the camera versus the scanning rate of the display. As I say, the human eye can't see it. You will not see that flash normally. Other than that, radio's ready to go. A repair like that, about $85. Just so you know, there is money to be made on repairing good old units. This one here is in very good condition. Unfortunately, Somebody did modify it. It was done in the back. That's not a big issue, as long as there's no holes in the front. But this radio is well worth it. The customers, I think, is going to be very happy with it. I'm very happy with it. And that's about it. This is Rick, the CB Doctor, and I would just like to say 73s.